morning, and welcome to our South Summit Venture Capital Growth Panel. Thank you very much for joining us physically, and thank you to all those who are listening or watching us through the South Summit platform. My name is Mario Teijeiro, and I'm moderating this panel on behalf of Deloitte Start Me Up, in association with ASCRI, Asociación Española de Capital, Crecimiento e Inversión. And today we'll have the pleasure to discuss and share some impressions and investment trends with Sonia Fernandez, Laura González Stefani, and Javier Martínez de Lujo. And before that, I would really appreciate if they could introduce themselves briefly. Any of you?
Should we go? Well, Laura González Stefani, founder and general partner of the Venture City. We are an American-European fund based in Madrid and Miami. I'm that lucky. I am based there in the States. We've been 5 years. First fund was 52.5 million. Second fund is 100 million. We are operators now becoming funders. So that's how we like to call ourselves. Many companies, Returnly, for example, is a company that Eduardo Vilar founded and just was acquired by a firm. In Fund 1, we love to help companies from day one in everything regarding product and go-to-market. And we love bringing companies from Spain to the world.
Great. Hi, Sonia Fernandez. I'm a partner at Kibo Ventures. We're a fund based in Spain. We have offices in Madrid, Barcelona, and Portugal. And we do primarily late seed Series A rounds across all different verticals. We have invested out of 3 funds. Right now we're investing out of our Fund 3, which will be closing very soon at 100 plus million. And yeah, really thank you, ASCRI, for inviting us, and very much looking forward to discussing with you today.
Well, hello, I am Javier Martínez de Lujo, principal at Axon Partners Group. We manage around over 700 million. So far, we have been investing from 8 different direct fund investments all around the world. We've managed, and we manage currently funds here in Europe, in India, and in Latin America. We invest in companies with innovation and technology in all kinds of sectors. And recently, we launched a fund of funds 2 years ago, and currently launching the second fund of funds investing in European and US VC funds.
Well, thank you very much. So many things are happening that Laura is losing her voice. And
Well, I talk too much. Let's say that way.
Okay, I brought my notes, all kind of things are happening. And well, as most of you have noticed, there has been a relevant development in the Spanish ecosystem, both in terms of the number of investments, in terms of the amount and the average size of the rounds. This could be seen as something natural for a growing market, but there is something different. Valuations are rocketing. International funds are showing real interest in the Spanish ecosystem, and funds are no longer merely focused in one specific stage. Some pre-seed funds are entering the seed market. Seed funds are shifting to growth, and private equity is actively investing where venture capital funds used to be. What are those bigger investors doing? Is there space in Spain for this kind of funds? I would like to listen to Javier from the perspective of an investing firm with such a diversified portfolio such as Axon.
Okay, well, a quick answer is yes. I think there is plenty of room and big opportunities here in Spain, and this is what we've seen in recent data that we've seen from ASCRI and with the collaboration of some other funds reports, with 1.8 billion or 1.9 billion invested in first semester of this 2021, and with a lot of dry powder. But what we see that is happening in Europe is that most of the top investors or the most reputable and bigger funds are mainly focusing in Series A investments, and that is, I would say, crowded. These investors not anymore invest only in their own countries, but they are investing abroad, and they've been coming here to Spain in the last years, And in the last years, they have been leading this big investment, no, that you've been commenting and rocketing these devaluations. What I'm not really agree with that is that people is moving upwards in terms of stages. I think that is more or less, or rather different. And this is because, for example, in the case of Spain, as these big investors with a lot of investment capacity are leading these big investments, national investors are, I think, moving downwards and going into earlier stages and being like, well, not leading these investments, no? And this also happens with the private equity investors that they have traditionally been investing or looking for companies with EBITDA above 5 million. They are going downwards and also entering into tech companies, no? But being said this, the opportunity is there, of course. Also attending to the rankings and to these recent reports, we see Spain with an investment per capita below the average of Europe, and also in this kind of rankings with a number of scale-ups and potential unicorns in the future, in the short future. I think Spain is ranked like number 5 or something like that. No, so well, there is a lot of liquidity in the market. There is a lot of competition for the deals, but there is still plenty of room. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much. And with such in mind, and considering that international funds are here to stay,
May I add something?
of course.
Can I? So let's make it more interactive, right? So the first thing is that this is a country of entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs were here already 25 years ago. I built my first company in 1999. I failed miserably, I have to say, but I did that. The problem is that the capital is not realizing that we have that talent in the country. So it's not that there are entrepreneurs now that we didn't have before. They did. They are here. But they had to fundraise outside of Spain because nobody in Spain would give them the capital. So I think that is something to remark, because the same way with the funds, these guys have been here for so long, and it was very hard to fundraise years ago, right? Because it was a new asset.
Yeah, I think also if founders realize that capital is there and they will be able to fund, I think they take more risks and they're more ambitious.
Yes.
If you don't think that you're going to be able to raise the next round, or it's going to take you a long time, then you're more cautious with the capital. I think the circle is not good, versus maybe in other markets where you know that if you do well, if the metrics are there, you're going to have capital to back you up, then you become more ambitious with the project. So I think that's a little bit what's happening now, that capital is there. So founders are more ambitious because they know that, you know, if they do well, they will get the money. So I think that's
You're right.
a change. Yeah.
Don't you think that, you know, the market is shifting, everything is changing? I would like to know your opinion, Sonia, about what Quibo has just announced, you know, like transferring the remainder of its Fund 1 to a continuity or a fund?
Continuation fund, yeah. So for us, as general partners of a fund, we also see ourselves as a startup. We raise money, but we're only as good as our ability to continue to raise money. And for us to be able to raise money, we need to give the money back to our initial LPs or investors. And what you will see in this asset class that we call venture is that it's a long-term investment for people that back funds like Venture City or Quibo Ventures. It's going to take them a while to get their money back. And sometimes the way that these investors get their money back is for other funds, bigger funds, to be able to buy those positions in the fund and give them liquidity, and then continue to manage the assets that that remain in that fund as portfolio companies. The reality is that so far this has not been the case because, one, I think international funds didn't see Spain as to be honest, as an attractive enough market, and attractive because of the underlying assets that we would have in the portfolio. They would look at the portfolio and see, well, maybe not that interesting. And also the size. Some of these big international funds, if it's not big enough, they're not going to do a transaction for, you know, a few million. So what happened to us is we were able to provide liquidity to our Fund 1 investors by having HarborVest, which is it's a very big fund manager. They have like 80 billion assets under management. They took that stake. We are still managing the companies in their portfolio as a management company. But we have provided liquidity to those investors, which is very good because they get their money back, their cash in hand, and then that allows them to continue, hopefully, to invest in the asset class. So it's provides light at the end of the tunnel for the people who first invested in funds like us. I don't know, Laura, if you want to...
No, I agree with that. I think that one of the things that I see in the United States is that fund managers are seen as entrepreneurs, as the entrepreneurs of the startups, because at the end of the day, you need to build a team, you need to fundraise, you need to report on your numbers, you need to give the money back. I mean, it's the same thing. And I am happy to see that now all over Europe, this mentality is landing so that everybody understands that we're just one team, one dream, and not just, hey, you're here, I'm giving you the money, I'm there, I'm building, you don't tell me anything about my day-to-day operations. So I'm happy to see that finally everything is shifting.
No, and what Sonia was saying about the size of the investments and the rounds and so on and the funds, that is, I think, the natural evolution of what you were saying at the beginning. No, entrepreneurs have been here for very long time, but now they have, thanks to this evolution, they have the money, they have the tools, the ecosystem, and now things make each time bigger and bigger. No, and that's the natural evolution for this kind of funds now entering into Spain and making possible to do this kind of transactions. No?
Mm. It's interesting to see how the ecosystem is getting more mature, and things like the ones you were saying, like bringing liquidity to an illiquid market is something out of the box. I mean, most of the investors were saying, okay, I don't dare to invest in this kind of investments because I don't know when I'm going to get the money back. So that's very interesting. Do you think other funds are going to replicate what you're doing?
I think it's also, at the end of the day, I have to say, I think the more sophisticated investors in venture capital, they understand that this is a long-term investment. And I guess, maybe some will have the appetite to make their investment liquid, and then if we have the ability to attract secondary market transactions, that's great. But I think for the more sophisticated investors, it's more interesting to stay in the investment, because if you think about it, a secondary guy is going to come in, take the position. They also come in because they think they're going to make a return. So I think for the first backers of the fund, they've taken the whole risk of really funding the companies when they were nothing, and now that they're very close to exiting, it's worthwhile staying and seeing all the upside remain in with the original LPs. But the fact that, and sometimes different investors have different targets and objectives. Sometimes liquidity is a necessity because they need it for something else. So the fact that there's optionality is a good thing, but that doesn't mean that needs to be the outcome for every fund. I don't think so.
Okay, it's an option. No?
Yeah.
It's interesting. And well, apart from this, and getting back to capital growth investing, we're seeing, and we read the newspapers and we see all kind of alliances and partnerships, like the one who has been announced by Telefónica and KFAN, or the one that was previously announced by Sealla and Qatar Innovation to co-invest internationally. From your perspective, Laura, you have created a venture capital which is international from the beginning. It's called the Venture City. It's really interesting. I really invite you to take a look at what they've done already. And what do you think about these kind of alliances? Do you think it's needed and necessary for the Spanish ecosystem to keep growing and to keep those investments and startups within Spain or within Europe?
So I think there's two thoughts there. So the first one is, the moment the Spanish entrepreneurs exit, they normally invest part of their exit into other funds. So when they are invested by American funds, and just example, Eduardo Vilar with Returnly, He just exited his company and he's investing back like crazy in Spanish entrepreneurs. What happens? The American investors that invested in Edu, Craft Ventures, and others, they are investing whatever Edu wants to invest, right? So all these amazing entrepreneurs that already made it are building a brand about what's going on in Spain. This is why in the last few years, we have seen so much attraction from Kleiner Perkins and so many other big funds that understand Spain from the perspective of the Spanish entrepreneurs. I think that's one thing. When I was in Silicon Valley myself, I was an operator in my old life at Facebook. When I was there, I was realizing the talent and the potential of Spain, but I understood that the Americans didn't understand Spain. And I did, because I was right in the middle. So I said, why just investing in one country? Why couldn't we just, there's no zip codes, there's no limits, Why don't we just build something there and we can invest globally? And that's how we did it. And I think that what Telefonica is doing with K-Fund and what Bea with Seaya is doing with Kate is just amazing. And it's just to really boost, the space in the years to come. So I'm very, very, very inspired by those deals.
Well, you're really a hybrid breed, like doing things differently. And well, you haven't seen her this morning. She was like, okay, I love Silicon Valley, but Miami is on fire. You should go there. So I don't know if you mean the beach or the investment.
Yes, Miami, Madrid is the best connection.
Really interesting. Thank you very much. And well, now even the capital growth, we see that it's getting more mature, and we're seeing that vehicles which are bigger or which are ruled by the government, they're investing in capital growth. We are seeing a Next Generation Recovery Fund. We're seeing the recently announced Next Tech Fund. How do you see that type of investors coming into your playground?
Is it for me or?
All of you.
Oh, okay. So, if you leave me, I can speak like
I
for
know
3
about
hours. The answer is it was about time that was happening. How can it be that there are so many sovereign funds in so many countries, the UK, in Ireland, in Germany, in so many places, even in Eastern Europe, and we didn't have our own fund to support entrepreneurs and fund of funds. Our own fund of funds. It is on a matching basis, which I think is great for us. So I sit on the board of the European Commission in a fund of 10 billion euro, and I guess that I'm there because I'm kind of like seeing what's going on outside Europe. And it was amazing how fast, after we launched this 10 billion fund, how fast Spain launched the 2 billion fund. Honestly, I can criticize a lot the government in many ways, but in that way, we need to make it happen right now, but they were the first country in the European Union to make it happen. So for me, it's exactly where it needs to be, and we are late to the game, so we better run and ramp up.
You're right. Thank you very much. Please talk.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Laura is going to die. She has no voice.
I think that the money is there, no? So we've seen we were commenting before the dry powder that currently is in Spain, and so many millions that have been raised in the last 2-3 years, no? So there is a lot of money in the market. These funds coming from Europe, I would say that it depends on the company, no? And the situation of the company. There are companies that are very, very well established with a very good business plan and growth model in the future, that they don't have so much problems with in accessing to investment. Probably some others are not in the same situation, and they will need these funds coming from Europe that probably will have different requirements than the ones that the funds request. No, so I would say it depends on the company, and the other thing is that there is a lot of money, but the more it comes, I think that it will be better for the ecosystem. No?
Mm-hmm.
I think also it's a very smart move, because if you think about it, once a company is on the growth stage, you've done the funnel in terms of selecting the companies. You then come down to the very, very good companies that are able to raise. And then if that value creation goes to the US or to SoftBank or to other big funds that are not European funds, in a way, it's, we've been able to create this value, but then the value at the end of the chain goes to a different, continent in that way. So I think, keeping that value within Europe is also smart. And, so far we couldn't do it because we didn't have the capital. So I think it makes sense.
And apart from the market itself, how do you think regulation is going to change the ecosystem as we see it? For example, we've seen the draft of this new law of startups that everyone is trying to make some comments and suggestions. How do you think everything is going to change after reading that draft?
Oof.
Tricky. That's for Laura.
Well, I haven't seen a more restrictive regulation in that sense than the Spanish one. We invest globally in the UK, all over Latin America, even Africa, and of course the United States. And it's really sad to see that one of the obstacles that Spain has had is that it wasn't a nice kind of like environment to invest from our perspective. So, we've given a lot of feedback for a very long time because I understand that all of us have been working on that for a couple of years. Let's see how that crystallizes, but it has to crystallize in something that is good for everybody, entrepreneurs first, then us, and then of course the government. But I am hopeful that it will go in the right way.
I think from our perspective, it's not so much about reinventing the wheel. I think we have examples of countries that have very good regulations, so it's really mimicking what's working in other countries. I was in Portugal 3 weeks ago and talking to funds there, and it's such a big contrast in terms of how they can attract talent, how all the legislation is really much more in the favor of the funds, entrepreneurs, even like getting visas for entrepreneurs. So it's not, in many ways, it's like, let's take what's working best across the European countries that we know that are making a good job and replicating what works. Yeah.
Yeah, the more flexible, the better, no? Because this will boost and will permit new entrepreneurs coming with new ideas and new good ideas happening, no? So the more flexible, the better, and coping to the existing regulations of the countries that we have near us.
And do you think the government is going to change and take into considerations everything that everyone have told them? Like, you should change this, you should specify what you mean with this, because the draft is, it's like the first draft, and they have said that they are going not to follow, but they are going to be inspired by all the comments. Even Askri, has written several suggestions. Do you think they are mature and strong enough to take into consideration all your opinion?
We should invite
I was
probably
going to say,
the president.
I think we should
Someone
probably
over
have,
there,
You can make him the question.
I think there's too much at stake if we don't do it. I mean, the tech revolution is here to stay. It's been already ongoing for 20 years. We are 20 years late to the game.
Yeah.
So if we don't take it right now, I think there's generations that we will lose. So hopefully all of us have been able, and everybody at Askri, and involved, even angel investors, I think that everybody should kind of like voice the importance of the now. Maybe 20 years ago it was okay, but now it's now. So, yeah.
And I think also Spain has so much to offer. I mean, we obviously, most of us in the room are probably, we were born here, but if you look around Europe, and where to start a company, you have hubs like Berlin, which is, attracts a lot of talent, it's a great city. London, I don't know what's going to happen with Brexit, but it's probably going to lose a lot of the appeal.
Yeah, it is.
Paris, not so much, but then you have Barcelona, you have Madrid. I mean, there aren't you can go to the Nordics, but that's different dynamics. I mean, I think we have a huge opportunity to really make these two hubs really stand out.
We have to watch out with Valencia and Malaga.
Yeah, true.
We always talk about Barcelona.
Yes,
Madrid,
yes.
Barcelona.
Yeah, you're
Watch
right.
out,
No,
Valencia and
absolutely.
Malaga.
You're
But
right.
again, the country,
Yeah.
we're a first world country, the quality of life is great,
Yeah.
health system is great, school, education. We have all the ingredients. So, I think now that there's a flight to work from home and distributed teams and, we have a very good opportunity to attract great talent that can, Spanish companies can attract all over the world. And yeah, I think it's for us to grab it.
Well, objectively thinking, Spain is probably the best place of Europe to work.
Of the world.
So many
No,
people,
you're-
no, but objectively, no, and many people now working from home are moving to Spain, no. People from the city are moving to Malaga or to Marbella or even to Madrid, no. So there is a big opportunity, of course, but we have to give facilities, no, to make this happen.
Yeah, you're right. And yeah, as Laura was saying, we're seeing and we're spotting different ecosystems that are booming now. Valencia is exploding,
Exploding.
Nowadays. And in terms of trends, I remember like 2 or 3 years ago, if I were asking, is there any investment trend that you see, and everyone would have replied, well, marketplaces. No? So now today, what do you see? What do you think are the trends that people in venture capital, especially growth, is going to invest in? I have the crystal ball.
I don't know, I can start maybe, and Laura. Oh, I mean, we're seeing so many really new game changers. If you think about crypto, if you think about NFTs, Sorare, which is the largest B round of a European company. I mean, it's maybe you think a black swan or like something that is an outlier, but it's there, and there's a huge market. So we're seeing a lot of interest in something that is going to change the dynamic of many industries, and it's really happening now. So it's really exciting from that perspective. We see a lot of very interesting companies in terms of fintech infrastructure. And that space is very, very interesting. And we were just discussing with Laura, a lot of health tech companies are yeah, I mean, every time I listen to a pitch of a company and what they're doing, sometimes for us, because we're generalist funds, we need to really get up to speed on what's going on, because, you need to have some specific knowledge to really understand. But there's going to be, we will know more and more, and technology will allow us to act on health in a very different way. So these are just some, maybe to name 3, but I'm sure you guys have more.
Oh, yeah, you can go
Yeah,
first.
well, most easily, the things that surround us in our normal lives, I would say transportation, mobility, no, thanks to all these eco trend, no, with electric cars, electric bikes, and so on. There, of course, things are happening and new opportunities to come. And also, in terms of Internet of Things sector, there has been for a long time, no, like wanting to start to boom, and probably now is the moment with all the connectivity, all the 5G technology, and so on. And we see all the cities and all our lives surrounded by connectivity, sensors, and so on. No? So probably these 2 examples are good, no, for new trends that where we are going to see opportunities in the short future.
We are looking a lot into biotech, and there's a Spanish founder, Lola Priego, based in New York. She's doing the next gen of control of our health through your biomarkers. And she's fantastic in conquering the world from there, from Cordoba and New York, I have to say. So everything in regards to giving us control of our health, I think is going to be amazing in years to come. DeFi, I'm learning every day around decentralized finance. I think that there's a new infrastructure coming into the financial world that's unstoppable. There's a lot of noise, but there's a lot of music in the space. So there's where and I think that in general, everything around infrastructure, for example, electrical grid infrastructure, stuff like that, that really affects directly into climate change, is something very, very interesting to watch closer. And I think that in Spain, by the way, we are pioneers there. So we're always learning, basically, thanks to the entrepreneurs.
Well, thank you very much. You've been so precise, like a Swiss watch,
Sharp.
just in time. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you, South Summit and ASCRI, for organizing this panel, and I hope you have enjoyed it. Have
Thank
a
you.
very good day.
Thank you.